What does the Bible teach about depression? Actually, a lot, which is why I wrote the entire book on how to beat depression with the Bible. So if you want to get a copy of this, it's available everywhere. This video is just going to be a very brief overview into one specific aspect of this. But if you want the broader overview, you want to go into everything, it's available Amazon, iTunes. If you want to go to taco-talks.com, get a signed copy directly from me, you can do that as well. So what I want to draw your attention to, and for this we're actually going to compare a few different translations of this. So New King James Version, we're also going to compare a LSB and an NASB real quick on this specific phrasing so that you can actually understand what this says very clearly. 1 Samuel 16 verse 14. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and a distressing spirit from the Lord troubled him. And Saul's servants said to him, Surely a distressing spirit from God is troubling you. Let our master now command your servants who are before you to seek out a man who is a skillful player of the harp. And it shall be that he will play it with his hand when the distressing spirit from God is upon you, and you shall be well. See, King Saul was getting depressed as a result of a spirit sent from God. And this is why he initially brought about David, because David was a very talented musician who would come and play the harp, and whenever he would hear the harp, Saul would calm down and that demon would leave Saul. Now in the NASB, 1 Samuel 16 verse 14. Now the Spirit of the Lord left Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord terrified him. Saul's servant said to him, Behold, now an evil spirit from God is terrifying you. May our Lord now command your servants who are before you. Have them search for a man who is a skillful musician on the harp, and it shall come about whenever the evil spirit from God is upon you, that he shall play the harp with his hand, and you will become well. So the NASB refers to this as an evil spirit from God, which is why you heard me moments ago say that this was a demon sent from God to torment him. Now jumping into the LSB, going to the exact same verse, 1 Samuel 16:14. Now the Spirit of Yahweh departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from Yahweh terrified him. Saul's servants then said to him, Behold, now an evil spirit from God is terrorizing you. Let our Lord now speak to your servants who are before you. Let them seek a man who is a skillful musician on the harp. And it shall be that when the evil spirit from God is on you, he shall play the harp with his hand, and you will be well. The reason I want to bring attention to this is because God is literally sending a demon to cause him to be distressed, depressed, terrorized. Based on the translation distinction, you're going to see that in multiple different ways. And now to examine one more translation in chapter 8 from How to Beat Depression with the Bible. It quotes the NLT in here, which I don't have a physical copy of the NLT in the truck, so it's a good thing I have this. Now the Spirit of the Lord had left Saul, and the Lord sent a tormenting spirit that filled him with depression and fear. Some of Saul's servants said to him, A tormenting spirit from God is troubling you. Let us find a good musician to play the harp whenever the tormenting spirit troubles you. He will play soothing music and you will be soon well again. Now, that is something that's really cool and really weird and really confusing, and we need to evaluate it real quickly. Because what this is saying, what this is implying, is that God is specifically sending this demon, this evil spirit, to torment, to depress, to distress, to cause anguish in Saul, which means that God is literally causing this man to be depressed. So, does that mean that God causes depression in people? I would say yes, sometimes. See, sometimes we live in this fallen world and we willfully choose to sin. We have a will that is bound to sin. Our will is not free. We can only do that which we actually crave and desire according to our nature. And for everybody who is not a Christian, it is exclusively bound to sin, which means that we are only ever going to sin. And so you are freely making these decisions and choices that are causing you to be depressed. They are causing you to have bad decisions in your life. You are doing things that are just perpetually wrong, that are going to be causing you to be depressed, or it is going to go deeper into that, making your depression far worse. And of course, there's going to be different categories and subcategories of depression. There's different kinds where it's basically a side effect of a different disorder. However, if you just have standalone depression, where it is simply just like what I used to have, where you just are chronically depressed for years upon years, decades even, and that is all. You're not schizophrenic, you're not bipolar, you don't have any other actual problems inside of you or any other mental illnesses. It is exclusively depression. That is what I talk about in this book. And so I do think that for people specifically like me, God 100% does cause depression. But we see this immediately within its own categorical context, where it's showing you a very specific kind of depression that God is causing. And just like it says in Romans chapter 8, God causes all things to happen for the good of those who love him. So if your depression leads to something good, beneficial, or wonderful, I would say yes, definitely God has in fact caused that. In my case specifically, I 100% do believe that God caused my depression, because my depression exclusively led me to do a few things, which includes being here talking to you right now. If I never got depressed, if I never became an atheist, then I never would have tried to disprove the Bible, and that is why I became a Christian. If I never went through that, I couldn't have written this book that I've had many people tell me was like a godsend to them. Many people who said that this book has helped them more than years and years of therapy. Just because it makes sense. It's not written by someone who studied depression, it's written by someone who studied depression as a result of being depressed, trying to figure out what was wrong with my brain. And one of the routes that I went through studying was seeing what the God who created the world says about depression. And God actually talks a lot about depression in a lot of different ways to do better in your life, to live a better life, in order to try to make your life more joyous and where you're living for him. See, if you don't have a purpose, then you're going to be depressed. And if you find that purpose, and if that purpose is real and it's according to the purpose that God predestined for you, then you are going to live well and you're going to be less depressed or even happy. Happiness is not the goal of life. Anyone who thinks that the ultimate goal of life is just to be happy is absolutely superficial and absurd. So this book is not saying this is how to be happy, this is how to beat depression. And depression only has one goal, which is to make you remove your own brain, to give your heart a timeout. So if you were to beat depression, that means that you are going to not succumb to what it wants you to do, which is to ultimately auto-delete. So we see there immediately that God is causing his depression, but he's immediately giving him a solution for that and showing the immediate reason why God is doing it. See, that is how King Saul met David, who became the next king, who defeated Goliath. David was an anointed, chosen one of God that was very specifically needed for a lot of different things that God had planned out in order to reach the Messiah. It was literally through David's lineage that Jesus came into the world, which led him from being a little shepherd boy to being this absolutely boss warrior and king. So even something as horrible as depression, God uses it to cause something wonderful and good. And I think that if your depression leads to something wonderful and good, as mine did, then I would say that that is definitely a gift from God. I would say that your depression in that case is literally a gift from God. I hope that made sense. Let me know what's next. Follow me on X, YouTube, and Instagram. If you want to go get a signed copy of this book, go to taco-talks.com. If not, it's available on Amazon. It's available on iTunes. It's available in every format, including audiobook. Go check it out on Audible, stuff like that. If you want to get this book, go do the book. If you've already read the book, go leave a review on Amazon or something, because that's just going to help other people hear your testimony and tell them if it helped you. If you don't like to read and you want more videos on this specific subject, then we can basically do a little study on my book, so I can go through this stuff with you guys on TikTok and show you guys exactly what the Bible teaches about depression this way. Because again, this was just a very brief overview. If you want to go deeper, the book is available everywhere right now. Thank you guys. God bless.